Hello family and friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Cynthia from Cynthia's Crafts and More. If you're new here, welcome. It's an honor to have you. Today I'm going to be doing some readings from the Bible. And I'm going to be reading from the book of Numbers. Numbers chapter 29, Offerings of the 7th month. On the first day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy assembly. You shall do no laborious work. It will be for you a day of blowing the trumpets. You shall offer a burnt offering as a sweet and soothing aroma to the Lord. 1 bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs, 1 year old, without blemish. Also their grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for the bull, 2/10 for the ram, and 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. These are in addition to the burnt offering of the new moon and its grain offering, and the continual burnt offering and its grain offering, and their drink offerings, according to the accordance for them, as a sweet and soothing aroma for an offering by fire to the Lord. Then on the 10th day of this 7th month you shall have a holy assembly, and you shall humble yourselves. You shall not do any work. You shall present a burnt offering to the Lord as a sweet and soothing aroma. 1 bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs, 1 year old, without blemish. And their grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for the bull, 2/10 for the 1 ram, 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the sin offering of atonement and the continual burnt offering, its grain offering, and their drink offerings. On the 15th day of the 7th month you shall have a holy assembly. You shall do no laborious work, and you shall observe a feast to the Lord for 7 days. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering by fire as a sweet and soothing aroma to the Lord. 13 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, 1 year old, which are without blemish. And their grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 for each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 for each of the 14 lambs. Also 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Then on the 2nd day, 12 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs, 1 year old, without blemish, with their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, the rams, and the lambs, by their number according to the ordinance. Also 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its grain offering, and their drink offerings. On the 3rd day of the feast, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs, 1 year old, without blemish, with their grain offering and drink offerings for the bulls, the rams and lambs, by their number accordance to the ordinance, and 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 4th day of the feast, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs, 1 year old without blemish, their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, the rams, and the lambs, by their number according to the ordinance, and 1 male goat as a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 5th day of the feast, 9 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, 1 year old without blemish, and their grain offering and drink offerings for the bulls, the rams and lambs, by the number according to the ordinance, and 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, and its grain offering, and its drink offering. Then, on the 6th day of the feast, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs, 1 year old without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, the rams, and the lambs, by their number according to the ordinance, and 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offerings. Then on the 7th day of the feast, 7 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, 1 year old without blemish, and their grain offering and drink offerings for the bulls, the rams, and the lambs, by the number according to the ordinance, and the 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, and its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 8th day you shall have a solemn assembly to mark the end of the feast. You shall do no laborious work. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering by fire, as a sweet and soothing aroma to the Lord. 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs, 1 year old without blemish, their grain offering and drink offerings for the bull, the ram, and the lambs, by their number according to the ordinance, and 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the continual burnt offering, and its grain offering, and its drink offering. You shall present these to the Lord at your appointed times. In addition, the offerings you have vowed with your free will offerings, as your burnt offerings, grain offerings, drink offerings, and as your peace offerings. So Moses spoke to the Israelites in accordance with everything that the Lord had commanded him. And this concludes the book of Numbers, chapter 29. The book of Numbers, chapter 30. The law of vows. Then Moses spoke to the leaders of the tribes of the Israelites, saying, This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. If a man makes a vow to the Lord, or swears an oath to bind himself with a pledge of abstinence, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds without his mouth. Also, if a woman makes a vow to the Lord and binds herself by a pledge of abstinence while living in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow and her pledge by which she has bound herself, and he offers no objection, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if her father disapproves of her making her vow on the day that he hears about it, none of her vows or her pledges by which she has bound herself shall stand. And then the Lord will forgive her because her father has disapproved of her. But if she marries while under her vows, or if she has bound herself by a rash statement, and her husband hears of it and says nothing about it on the day he hears it, then her vow shall stand, and her pledge by which she bound herself shall stand. But if her husband disapproves of her making her vow or pledge on the day that he hears of it, then he shall annul her vow which is under the rash statement of her lips by which she bound herself, and the Lord will forgive her. But the vow of a widow or of a divorced woman, everything by which she has bound herself, shall stand against her. However, if she vowed in her husband's house, or bound herself by a pledge with an oath, and her husband heard it, but said nothing to her, and did not disapprove of her, then all her vows and every pledge by which she bound herself shall stand. But if her husband absolutely annuls them on the day he heard them, then whatever proceeds from her lips concerning her vows or concerning the pledge shall not stand. Her husband has annulled them, and the Lord will forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to humble herself, her husband may confirm it or her husband may annul it. But if her husband says nothing to her concerning the matter from day to day, then he confirms that her vows or all her pledges which are on her. He has confirmed them because he said nothing to her on the day he heard them. But if indeed nullifies them after he hears of them, then he shall be responsible for and bear her guilt for breaking her promise. These are the statutes of the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, and between a father and his daughter, while she is in her youth in her father's house. And this concludes the book of Numbers, chapter 30. Book of Numbers, chapter 31. The slaughter of Midian. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take vengeance for the Israelites and the Midianites. Afterward you shall be gathered to your people. Moses spoke to the people, saying, Arm men from among you for war, so that you may go against Midian to execute the Lord's vengeance on Midian for seducing Israel to participate in idolatry. 1,000 fighting men from each tribe of all the tribes of Israel you shall send the war. So out of the 1,000 of Israel, 1,000 from each tribe were selected, 12,000 armed for war. Moses sent them, 1,000 from each tribe, to the war. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, to war with them, and the sacred vessels of the sanctuary, and the trumpets to blow the alarm in his hand. They made war against Midian, just as the Lord had commanded Moses, and they killed every male. They killed the kings of Midian, along with the rest of their slain. Evi and Rekem and Zur, the father of Kozobi, and Hur and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. Also Balaam, the son of Beor, they killed with the sword. The sons of Israel captured the women of Midian and their children and all their cattle. All their livestock, and all their property they took for spoil of war. They burned all the cities where they lived and all their encampments with fire. They took all the plunder and all the spoils of war, both people and livestock. Then they brought the captives, the spoils, and the plunder to Moses and Eleazar, the priest, and to the congregation of the Israelites at the camp of the plains of Moab by the Jordan River, across from Jericho. Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the leaders of the congregation went out to meet them outside the camp, but Moses was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of the thousands of hundreds who served in the war. And Moses said to them, "Why have you let all the women live? Look, these are the women who caused the Israelites by the counsel of Balaam to trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor. And so a plague came among the congregation of the Lord. Now, therefore, kill every male among the children, and kill every woman who is not a virgin." Sorry, I thought my phone was ringing. Excuse me just a second. Sorry about that. But all the young girls who have not known a man intimately, keep alive for yourselves to marry. Camp outside the camp for 7 days. Whoever has killed any person and whoever has touched any dead body, purify yourselves for your captives. On the 3rd day of the 7th, and on the 7th day, you shall purify every garment and every article made of leather, and all the things made of goat's hair, and every article made of wood. Then Eleazar the priest said to the men of war who had gone to battle, "This is the statute of the law which the Lord has commanded Moses. Only the gold, the silver, the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that can stand fire, you shall pass through fire, and it shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall also be purified with the water of purification to remove its impurity. And all that cannot stand fire, such as fabrics, you shall pass through water. And you shall wash your clothes on the 7th day and be clean, and after you may come into the camp." Division of the spoil of war. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "You and Eleazar the priest and the leaders of the fathers' households of the congregation are to take count of the spoil of war that was captured, both people and livestock. Divide the spoil into 2 equal parts between those who were involved in the war, that is, those who went out to battle, and all the rest of the congregation. Levy a tax for the Lord from the warriors who went to battle, 1 in 500 of the persons, the oxen, the donkeys, and the flocks. Take this tribute from the warriors, half, and give it to Eleazar the priest as an offering to the Lord. From the Israelites, half of the spoil. You should take 1 out of every 50 of the persons, the oxen, donkeys, the flocks, and all of the livestock, and give them to the Levites, who are in charge of the tabernacle to the Lord." Moses and Eleazar the priest did just as the Lord commanded Moses. The plunder that remained from the spoil of war, which the warriors had taken, was 675,000 sheep, and 72,000 cattle, and 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 persons in all of the Midianite women who were virgins. The half shared the portion of those who went to war was 337,500 sheep in number, and the Lord's levy tax of the sheep was 675. The cattle were 36,000, from which the Lord's levy was 72. The donkeys were 30,500, from which the Lord's levy was 61. The persons were 16,000, from the Lord's levy was 32 persons. Moses gave the levy, which was the Lord's offering, to Eleazar the priest, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. As for the Israelites, half which Moses separated from that of the warriors, now the congregation's half was 337,500 sheep, and 36,000 cattle, and 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 people. And from the Israelites, half, Moses took one out of every 50, both of persons and animals, and gave them to the Levites, who were in charge of the tabernacle of the Lord, just as the Lord commanded Moses. Then the offerings who were over the thousands of the army, the commanders and the thousands and hundreds, approached Moses and said to him, "Your servants have counted the warriors under your command, and not one man of us is missing. So we have brought as an offering to the Lord what each man obtained, articles of gold, armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before the Lord." Moses and Eleazar the priest took the gold from them, all the handmade articles, all the gold of the offering which was presented to the Lord from the commanders of thousands and hundreds was 16,750 shekels. For the men of war had taken plunder, every man for himself. So Moses and Eleazar the priest received the gold from the commander of thousands and of hundreds, and brought it into the tent of meeting, as a memorial for the sons of Israel before the Lord. And this concludes the book of Numbers, chapter 31. And it concludes the readings for today. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful, and blessed day, and that these readings have set well with you. Remember that Jesus loves you, and so do I. Let's pray for peace and love. Until tomorrow, God bless. Love you guys.